All right. Okay. Well, it's 7, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the fun stuff. At least the stuff that I want to talk about, that I want to play with today. So today we are going to talk about, some of the ideas surrounding mask wearing / like not mask wearing. Like, I'm not wearing my mask right now. I was actually thinking about doing a thing where I came down and started the stream with the mask on or something like that, but then I was like, no, that'd probably be super corny. Anyway, I wanted to talk about, what would go through the mind of somebody who doesn't want to wear a mask for whatever reason. We'll talk about maybe some of the more charitable explanations, cognitive dissonance, reactants theory. These are slightly more charitable discussions of their underlying processes, I guess, psychological processes, we'll call them. And then maybe we'll, talk about some of the more obvious reasons and the ideas that are linked to those obvious reasons. So, what else did... Oh, and then we'll talk about which masks are more effective than others from a, new research standpoint from the folks at Duke University. Yeah, and so any questions on what I'm saying at any point, feel free to drop it in chat. And we'll go off on tangents if we need to. I kind of want to keep a steady flow to the discussion, but because I kind of want to. This is definitely one that I want to turn into a VOD. Sort of puts all of the stuff that I've been finding together, and I got this idea to do this particular stream. Last week I did stuff on my research on MBTI, but this week I kind of want to follow the trend of like having a solid just idea for the topic of choice that I think that I was trying to think of. So I want to keep it kind of going because I do want to turn this into a really good VOD, something that I can clip together, cut together, and just share all over the place as like some summary. So that's what I plan on doing. And like I said, I got this idea. It's not my like idea from my own mind, but I have a stream and I have a stream. I have an audience somewhat, and then I have a YouTube audience. So yeah, I wanted to share that. This, and I'm gonna reference this quite a bit. This idea came from several researchers and instructors in the APA Division 2, the Society for the Teaching of Psychology. It's Division 2 of the APA, and on the listserv, somebody asked, what's some of the reasons why somebody might not want to wear a mask, and several people replied to this message, and it's great being on that listserv because you get access to a lot of resources and a lot of knowledge sharing. It's great, but and so that's essentially what this idea came from, and many of the ideas that I'm going to share with you all today is many of these ideas, and I will of course reference those people because they're not my ideas. They are the ideas of the people that I express and or say that, oh, this person said that this person, and I have links to that and all that stuff. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to put it together in some sort of interactive video, so to speak. So that's what we're going to do. And so I'm going to jump into a different mode so we can kind of go through this one I think I want to be on. All right. So what I wanted to start with today is some videos of some people who are refusing to wear masks, and then we can kind of go through the ideas as I had sort of lined out there. All right, so I wanted to play this first one. This just happened last week. Let's play this here.
I understand you've been asked to wear a mask.
That's correct.
And you're refusing to comply with this?
Correct.
They have signage here that says that you have to wear it while you're here. It's their rule. It's a state mandate.
There's an exception to the mandate while you're exercising that you do not have to wear a mask. I'm exercising.
That's if you're exercising in a public space.
I am exercising in a public space.
This is not a public space.
This club is open to the public.
This is a privately owned institution.
No, it's not.
Yes,
no,
it
it's
is.
not. Are you an attorney for this establishment?
I am not, ma'am.
Then how do you know that?
Because that's how the mall is.
Well, this isn't part of the mall. This is a facility, a private corporation within the mall.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't mind, I'm exercising. The mandate makes an exception for exercising.
Did you come in with a mask?
Okay, so if you don't mind, can I get back to working out? Because you know what? I have the liberty in the United States of America to pursue, to be free, to do what I want to do. And right now, I came here to work out. I didn't come here to get hassled by security.
If you're not going to comply with the facility's requests, we are going to call the police and have you removed.
And really quick, the policy is stated on the door. The Planet Fitness policy. Go take a look at it. It's posted on the front door. I took a picture of it, and what it requires is social distancing, hand sanitizing. It mentions nothing about wearing a mask.
There is another.
So I asked you.
There is another sign on the door that says, "Please wear a mask."
Right, and it's stipulated. And that sign that's on the door is stipulated on the governor's mandate. Okay, not your company policy.
But did you come in with a mask?
So if you're going to reference, like I asked you earlier, if you're going to reference the company policy, then let me see it. Because up to right now, your policy says nothing about face masks.
There are signs. I don't feel comfortable being recorded.
Okay, I don't feel comfortable. I'm trying to work out. I don't feel comfortable being forced by a citizen, being forced by you.
My mom that's at risk.
I'm sorry, what? Are you a doctor now?
My mom is at risk.
Okay, is your mom here?
No, but I have to go home to her. As I said, I don't like.
Okay, so we're practicing social distancing, are we not?
Yes.
Okay, and the science on masks, okay, isn't conclusive. Okay, the health professionals are split. Okay, it's not confirmed that masks work or they don't work. And personally, for me, I'm not going to wear a mask because I don't believe they work. I believe they're more harmful than helpful. So until they can prove that masks help, I'm not going to consider wearing one.
I understand that, but we have signs that say, "Please wear a mask."
Okay, I think, like...
I love it how the security guard just, like, deuces it out. Like, he's like, nah, I'm not gonna talk to this woman anymore. Here's another one. This is, recently. This is a recorded conversation. Of two women who are going at it in a grocery store verbally. There is language in this one. That was not bleeped because it's just somebody uploaded it to Facebook. It's in Long Island, so they're gonna have the Long Island accents. So yeah, enjoy this one.
Yeah.
There's no
You kidding me? We live in
subtitles either.
We're giving this communist crap. My mask was on. It wasn't my mask was on. I think you need to get out of my face. Shut the fuck
Yeah, I like that kitty.
You know what I mean? You're a fat fuck. That's why you work in a supermarket. That's why the supermarket, you dumb fuck. Take her fucking car and do not let her come. I'll beat the fucking shit out of you. Are you fucking kidding? No, I'm not. Are you? I'm not. Don't pull your communist crap on me. Don't pull your communist bullshit on me. I'll fucking beat the shit out of you. Right here is a fucking.
Okay. I don't know how much that actually came through on chat, but yeah. Hysterical because of the accents. Yeah. I thought it was pretty funny, so I wanted to share it. And then this one happened, I think, viral video. This is in Arizona. It was posted by TMZ. Or, yeah, I guess interviewed by TMZ. I don't know when exactly it happened. It was posted yesterday. I don't know. But this is the New York Post, of course, so grain of salt. But anyways, they're not very good at their reporting. But this one's 49 seconds. There is some swearing, but it is bleeped, and in the subtitles of the video, they're starred out. But I'm sure you can guess what words they are. So this will be the last one we watch.
People won't learn. These people
This
won't
is a
learn.
male Karen.
You're a bunch of idiots wearing masks. You know it's not real. Look at you fools. You got a f***ing doily on your face. You hard. You look like you got it off your mom's countertop. You look like an idiot. You're the child. Trying to make you wear a mask. Shut up, bro. Yelling at people. You're a dork. Look at you, you giant f***ing dork. What are you going to do? No, good boy. Come outside. Come outside and tell me how tough you are. I'll beat that f***ing mask off your face like a f***ing re. You're all a bunch of f***ings wearing masks. Losers.
Goodbye.
Yeah. So, from what I could tell and what you see in the captions, I guess. I was going to call them subtitles, but yeah, I guess they are. Is that this kid right here is the son of this guy. And I think the other one that kind of grabbed onto him was also his son. And yeah, at the end, the son just straight up lifts him off the ground, puts him on the outside of the door, and then drops him. And then he I think punches the sign or something like that. I couldn't really tell. So that was a farmer's market in Tucson. So, we got those, and there have been plenty of other examples. There was a woman in Trader Joe's in July who was asked to leave, and then people cheered when she got kicked out. And then at another grocery store, woman refused to wear a mask, and then there was another one, and that's where this side tangent. This is where the Karen meme has really taken off, because the people who refuse to wear the masks seem to be, and the stereotype has come to be that it's a white female, or a white woman who's expressing the idea that they don't want to wear a mask because they don't believe in it. They don't believe they're effective, and they don't believe that they are necessary, and they don't believe that they should have to wear them, which they consider to be an infringement on their rights and freedoms and other stuff like that. So, that's the Karen stereotype. Yeah. And she demands to speak to the manager, and will argue with everyone until they're they get their way or they're forced out in some way. That's a Karen. Yeah, kidding. The first idea that I want to talk about is cognitive dissonance, and there was a really great piece by one of Leon Festinger's, who developed cognitive dissonance theory, who first wrote about and identified it. And we can take this idea of that was proffered by Leon Festinger, and one of his students was Elliot Aronson. So Elliot Aronson and Carol Tavris wrote this awesome piece that appeared in The Atlantic back in July. And it's just cognitive dissonance. And so with somebody like Elliot Aronson, who has direct knowledge and study under the tutelage of the guy who came up with cognitive dissonance, you have a perfect explanation. This explanation is, I gotta say, delectable, because it's really easy to understand. So cognitive dissonance is the idea / motivation that I have beliefs or attitudes that do not align with my behavior and vice versa. This creates an aversive motivational state that we seek to reduce, and generally speaking, the only way to reduce dissonance is to either 1, change your behavior, or 2, change your attitudes or cognitions in general. And I gotta tell you, it's so much easier. Even though it seems counterintuitive, it's so much easier to change your cognitions to get rid of the aversive motivational state. Or, so we have that way. Or we can change our behavior, which is really hard. If you ever have tried to change behavior, you know that it's super hard to do. It's, for something to become a habit, it takes a long time for you to keep doing that repetitive behavior. For you to consciously work to do that repetitive behavior, it takes a while. It can't be instantaneous like your attitudes, because you can actually change your attitudes pretty quickly. You can come up with justifications and rationalizations. And so what ends up happening with this dissonance is the changing of the attitudes toward where the dissonance is. And I'll give you some examples, of course, based on this op-ed. I guess it's technically an op-ed. So we can start with some of the background of this kind of idea, which sort of fuels the cognitive dissonance thinking here, is a great reference and allegory to the beliefs that exists in cults. Heaven's Gate. These were the folks that thought that a spaceship was riding in the coattails of Hale-Bopp, the comet that was coming around in 1997. I don't know when again it's supposed to come back. So, because I think, it was discovered in the 50s? I don't know exactly when it's coming back. Maybe you can look it up if you want to. But the idea was that there was a spaceship in the, dust trail. And they bought a telescope as high as power they could get, for recreational use, and not that was built for huge observatory. So they went and they watched it, and when they couldn't spot a spaceship, they returned it to the store, and the people at the store were like, "Why?" And they said that it didn't work. I mean, whether it did or not is obviously not the point of the story. The idea is that they then decidedly mass suicided because they thought maybe they had to just leave their corporeal bodies. So that's where the dissonance is, right? So something about my beliefs and my behavior is incompatible with another thing that is also true. So what do? Well, I'm going to change my cognitions about it and not my behavior. Okay. So that's essentially what the ideas behind the disconnects between COVID and mask wearing. So this cognitive dissonance. Why would somebody not want to wear a mask? Well, it is in dissonance with their beliefs. There is something that is disconnecting between the two, and so what do? Instead of putting the damn mask on, they come up with different ideas for why they don't want to wear it. The first Karen that we saw, she said that, I'm in a public space because she thought the gym was public, which is obviously not true, right? So we have this, this disconnect, and the rationalizations and the justifications are massive, and then they just snowball and go keep getting bigger and bigger and more massive and more massive, which brings out more emotion and more aggression, and it just kind of it topples over. Dissonance apply to Scientology and therapy in a psychological sense, what you're asking, or Scientology with therapy and psychology. Oh, I get what your question is. Yeah, I was like, what? Scientology? Yeah, the answer is yeah. There would be dissonance there. They do officially state that. Actually, I did not know that was their official line, actually. I knew there was something there. And I remember Tom Cruise telling Matt Lauer not to be glib. Because... Alright. So, cognitive dissonance. This is why people continue to smoke cigarettes or do other sorts of other substances, even when they know that they could they could potentially die from doing it. Whether it takes a short time or a long time, opioids versus cigarettes, it's people still continue to do it, even though they know that there is something else that is giving them the opposite vibe. Okay. So this will work equally well with something that is now on the same sort of level as doing drugs and possibly getting killed. We have evidence that COVID-19 can kill a person, right? And while the overall death rate might be, or mortality rate might be low, just like all deaths versus all cases, it might be low. We're still talking about human bodies who are now no longer alive. I mean, you can't just say like, oh, well, it's only a 1% death rate. Yeah, 1% is still a lot of GD bodies if it's 1% of millions, hundreds of millions. So anyways, I won't rant too much on that. So it's on the same level of something that can kill you, and we don't want to change those behaviors. So why change this other behavior about COVID? There's a lot to do with psychological distance from a problem, an issue, a situation, negative situation that might be affecting someone. The psychological distance, if it's greater, like if it's not personally relevant, then I don't care about it. That's behind some of this dissonance, of course. So we definitely mention that. But over and over and over again, even on these health-related topics, you keep seeing the behaviors, the bad behaviors, the negative behaviors persist. And we can even say, in this particular case, negative health behaviors, right? Because getting COVID is not good for your health. And there have been tons of different kinds of cognitive dissonance experiments, and I love that they go with this one. And before I forget, I do want to say that a few of my colleagues came up with this idea. So Michael Pillage, I hope I'm saying that right, at New York University, who brought up this article from The Atlantic. Cognitive dissonance is the first charitable view that I'll give anti-maskers why they wouldn't want to put it on. They wouldn't want to put the mask on. It is easier for them in their current belief states to not put the mask on, because it's easier for them to come up with justifications for not putting it on, and those justifications come from problematic sources. But be that as it may, nevertheless, those beliefs and behaviors persist. Justifications outweigh changing the behavior, and you might say, oh, wait a minute. The non-behavior of not putting a mask on? Well, no, it's still behavior. The absence of behavior doesn't necessarily mean the absence of a physical movement does not define, is a sufficient, or it's a necessary part of the definition, but it's not sufficient. That's what I meant to say. Because behaviors can be not doing anything all the time. So, not putting the mask on is a deliberate choice not to put the mask on. And there could be a lot of reasons behind that too. But, I mean, we'll go to the dissonance part as a charitable explanation for why they don't put masks on. Now, after they make those justifications in their old noodle, what they do next is quite variable, I'll say. Quite variable. Because, what we don't, there's a little bit of bias in what is shown, right? We see all of the Karens who don't want to wear a mask when they're asked to put a mask on, and we're not shown all the countless times that it's probably innumerable in any case, of the people. We're not shown the people that say, hey, can you put a mask on? And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot, and it's in their pocket, and they put it on. So what they do after being asked to put the mask on is really up to them, right? And the ones that really tamp down on that dissonance by changing their attitudes and the justifications for that attitude, and then they blurt out and they, it's like, I don't know, I'm gonna beat you up and say the F word and call you fat, or posture like I'm some sort of big gorilla, blah. And yeah. So that's the cognitive dissonance part of this. That's the cognitive dissonance part of this. And that's why people may not want to wear masks. And we got to remember that this is a small minority of people. We got to remember that. We don't want this availability heuristic sort of clouding our judgment that most people who don't wear masks are just like raging lunatics running around thinking that it's okay to scream at people just trying to do their jobs, you know. Thank you, by the way, Professor Melko. Go check out his channel. Thank you for the host, and thank you for saying hello. Glad to have you by. I know you've been doing a lot of COVID stuff with your chemistry office hours, and so I just, I wanted a copy. I'm just so I didn't want to leave out. I didn't want to leave out psychology in the discussion. So, but if you're interested in more COVID stuff, Professor Melko does a bunch of chemistry and biochem related stuff on COVID quite frequently. So yeah, was there any other questions about cognitive dissonance and mask wearing? I like, by the way, so as the questions catch up to my question, this is a great paragraph right here, and I'll make it a little bit bigger just in case that it's not legible. However you're watching stream, tiny window. But here we go. This paragraph here on countercognitions. And I think Kitty mentioned that they were pretty mindful about dissonance. Yeah, I'm always trying. I was just scrolling up in chat. I'm trying to be mindful of dissonance. Yeah. So this is a great quote from. It's a great quote from Shimon Peres, who was the Prime Minister of Israel during the 1980s. Reagan went to... Oh, by the way, if you're not familiar with Eureka College, where I'm at, Ronald Reagan went to Eureka College. Anyways, he also went to the wrong cemetery. And I don't mean that he went to the... Like, he made the decision to go to the wrong cemetery. He did go to the scheduled cemetery, but it was literally the wrong cemetery to go to, because that's where the Waffen SS were buried, in this particular cemetery in Germany. So the Prime Minister of Israel was like, "Yay!" with Reagan, and they asked him, they being the press, asked him, what do you think about it? And he really had two competing ideas in the dissonance. He could, and to reduce that dissonance, he could throw out his friendship with Ronald Reagan, or he could minimize the seriousness of the friend's action. Okay. Those two ways would be really easy, just on a mental level, because this is the cognition change option. Those two would be effective justifications and rationalizations in relation to Reagan's actions. And so instead of doing those two things, he did this idea where he said this idea was more like the friend makes a mistake, the friend remains a friend, and the mistake remains a mistake. That is then the literal part there of reducing dissonance by not having any dissonance and being mindful of the dissonance, right? And so the idea is we should ask ourselves, as Kitty referred to as being mindful of dissonance, Why am I believing this? Why am I behaving this way? Have I thought it through, or am I simply taking a shortcut? This is the mental shortcut. Following the party line, that's more of a political idea, or justifying the effort that I put in to join the group. Okay, these are very important questions to ask. How do you recognize mental shortcuts? Well, it's very hard. It's very hard to recognize mental shortcuts. The heuristics are there for a reason. It's more efficient for us to think that way. We've evolved these mechanisms over, hundreds of thousands of years. So it's really hard to recognize the fact that when we operate in this automatic way, right? These mental shortcuts. But as I said in my streams last month, when we were talking about social psychology topics for the course, I did mention a lot about bias and how it constantly clouds our judgment, whether that judgment is morally right or wrong, notwithstanding. Bias does change the way we behave, which might be different from a possible objective reality. Whether an objective reality could ever be a thing is also notwithstanding. But my bias changes the way that I think versus the way that others might think, which again could be this potential objective reality or just infinite subjective realities. And it's really difficult, and it takes a long time to recognize when you are acting in a biased way. So that's a really long way to say that. How do we recognize it? Well, it takes a long time, and it depends. Or it depends, and it takes a long time. But and nobody is ever saying, especially with implicit biases, that you will ever get rid of them or that you will ever stop doing them. But it does take a long time to actually be good at it, or to recognize it a little clearer, a little. I'll just stick with clear. Yeah, I really enjoy talking about, because I also teach biopsych, and I really love talking about the nature of the evolution of a neuron, what the neuron does, and then how messages are transmitted, and then we have this blow up to and then we have trillions of them, and now we have a brain. And the brain does all this stuff. So, yeah. Kitty, I will be teaching it in the spring, and so I'll be doing office hours just like I've been. I'm planning to do, for the next Wednesday and Sunday in sort of perpetuity. Try to grow the audience, be a resource for my students. So yeah, you'll definitely have to jump into those spring streams coming in January. I'll talk a lot more about biopsych at that point, because my students will probably need some help. Yeah, I love the joke. Dendrites are my branches. Nice. Theory of reactants was the second. I guess the second of three. It was the second of two charitable discussions, explanations for why people don't want to wear masks. I just have, because this is a book, I don't really have access to it all that well. Let me increase the size just so anyone can see it. So this was a book written in 1966 by Bream, or Brem, I'm not entirely sure. I've seen that EHM pronounced two ways in my life, and I just said them. So it's either Brehm or Bream, wrote A Theory of Psychological Reactants, and the blurb for the book is, the theory states that individuals have certain freedoms with regard to their behavior. If these behavioral freedoms are reduced or threatened with reduction, the individual will be motivationally aroused to regain them. Again, another motivational theory. This is psychological reactants. The theory is examined in a series of experiments with personal and impersonal threats, and also in the light of attitude change theories. The theories at the time. So, reactants. You actually might be familiar with this. It's called reverse psychology. And it's not really reverse psychology, but I mean, I don't know what literally is reverse psychology, but people thought that, like, hey, making you do the opposite. That's when it became reverse psychology. So that's reactants. So we are going to chat about that for a little bit. But before I do that, I want to recognize the people that offered this in the STP listserv chat. So David Larwin at Kent State University at Salem, so I guess a sister campus of Kent State. So that was David Larwin who brought up reactants, and this is where the political psych is going to squeeze in just a little bit. So that was from David, and then a few other people chimed in with reactants theory as well. Kenneth Steele, yeah, I think that those are the two. Okay, yeah, those are the two. So reactants theory. So I have another video, or no, where is this? There we go. Okay, so I want to take this idea. I paused it. Pause. And I'm sorry, I don't like ads. You just put them all over your page. Okay. Oh, this was the woman who threw the shoe boxes. Yes. All right. So this is from USA Today. The USA Today. Stellar journalism. But you have. It's only. I mean, there's a lot of. You can watch them. I'm not gonna unmute it, as USA Today would be like, "We made the movie." So I don't want to do that. But anyways, so this one I thought would be useful to discuss reactants theory, because we can apply sort of the idea of a particular side of the political spectrum talking about personal freedoms. Conservative ideology argues that personal freedoms outweigh all others, because in America we have rights and stuff, and this is somewhat parroted in other conservative areas in the world that obviously are not the United States, but have democracies or other sort of republic typey things, governments. So we don't need to talk about certain named groups of people. We can just talk about broad conservative ideology, and the things that underpin that conservative ideology do have a play. But I think I want to leave that for the third option, because I think that's better. I don't want to throw this is charitable. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, because there could potentially be somebody on the other side of the political spectrum who doesn't want to wear masks for whatever reason. But the idea that's talked about in this particular article, is Dr. Vail Wright, who is a healthcare innovation senior director, at APA. So this is somebody who works in DC at the official headquarters of the APA, American Psychological Association, not to be confused with the American Psychiatric Association or the American Physiological Association or the all the other A's. There's a lot more. There's a lot more APAs out there, but this is the APA, at least from my perspective. She talks about how why people wouldn't want to wear masks, and this angry resistance can possibly be explained by reactants and the conservative idea that I don't want to wear a mask because it impinges on my personal freedoms, and that is a value that I have. But you can't then continue to justify it, though, because it becomes harder and harder and harder to justify the reactants. Doesn't necessarily change the reactant behavior. The reverse of you telling me you're not allowed to tell me what I can and can't do, so I'm going to do my thing. And I don't care if it's the opposite of what you're trying to tell me. So the reactants will continue with stronger and stronger pushback. And so I like this description of it because we don't have to throw anyone under the bus to say this. It's just the ideology itself is the struggle. I'd like to add to this piece a bit of cultural psychology, just very broad level, because I'm not a cultural psychologist, and so I'm not gonna try to use their vernacular to describe things. But this idea of personal beliefs and personal freedoms come from the conservative ideology. The difference between that mentality, the one that I just explained before my long pause, my bated breath, it is a part of Western individualistic culture, as Golden Duke put in the chat there, is the idea that I above the us, the me above the we. The individual is the important psychological component of the society rather than the groups. Where you will notice in this article where they're talking about these personal freedom ideas, you notice that you will not necessarily hear these same arguments. I don't think you would. I'm sure there's probably a minority. I don't think you would hear about it, is what I'm saying. I am pretty sure there's a minority that probably doesn't have group-based psychological orientation. But I doubt that you'd hear this personal freedoms argument against wearing masks in a collectivistic society like Japan or South Korea, or even China. So that's a big difference in reactance theory that I think is worth noting. I think that contributes to reactance theory in this way, because wearing a mask is not something that I want to do, but other people are doing it, and so I'm going to react in the opposite way because I have this belief about personal freedoms, and it's a strong belief, even if sometimes it's potentially misguided belief. You don't hear that because that person is only focused on themselves. You have the opposite side of the coin on the other side of the Pacific Ocean, to be honest, because they're all focused on, okay, I'm wearing this mask for the group benefit, collectivistic society. Yeah. So reactance theory is a potential explanation, but you have to then add the piece of cultural psychology there. So I think that's Reactants theory in a nutshell. Okay, so the last one that I want to chat about is probably the more throw your tomatoes at the performer kind of one, which is the more hot buttony topic. This is the more political part of the stream. What are the political reasons for not wearing a mask? What are the justifications that are possibly going down conspiracy theory routes? Why is it that the ones that we see, again, availability heuristic, why is it the ones that we see, the ones that get filmed and then posted all over social media, why are they so aggressive? And where are all of these things that they're saying coming from? And there's a lot of actors in coordinating these kinds of things. And I don't mean people who are pretending to be other people as actors. I mean just like there's a bunch of people who are that coordinate these kinds of massive misinformation campaigns. And I gotta say, it's really disheartening when you are just constantly bombarded by it. It's really depressing how much misinformation is out there, and what people that you probably know will believe, and you're like, wait, what are you talking about? And I'm gonna be taking this part of the discussion and keep it civil in chat. I'm going to be taking this part of the discussion as high a road as possible, and talking about the wild extremes. That's why I have this wildest extremes of the conspiracy theories. So this is why I have this video that we're going to watch from factcheck.org, which, by the way, is a great resource. Snopes, obviously, for specific like political ideas, then PolitiFact. That's what I was trying to say. So, but factcheck.org, really great resource. So there was a video that was going around. Yeah, see, partly false information. Okay. What I think is interesting about this guy is that he says, set aside your preconceived notions, pre-existing beliefs. But then he's going to try to tell you the exact opposite of this guy Science is saying. I hate this, by the way. According to Science. According to who? I'm sorry, who's Science? Is this science wonderful? Wunderbar? No, stop referring to science as this, like, amorphous, ethereal glob that floats around the universe. Stop it! I hate it. Anyways, that's one of the tangents. One of many tangents we've had over the last 40 or so minutes, or 40 minutes, 80 minutes, 70 minutes, whatever. So this guy is saying, set all that aside. You know what I'm saying? And then he proceeds to just get everything wrong, right? And that's the kind of stuff that you will see parroted at the grocery stores among the Karens. So PolitiFact is great because it basically just it basically goes through the video beat by beat in text and saying what's false, what's partly false, what's deceptive, what's true, etc. You can go through all of it. It's great. And then you also might be familiar with that doctor and other people in white lab coats come out to the steps outside of their hospital, and they started talking about how masks don't work or aren't not that they don't work, but they're unnecessary, and to take hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID. And I mentioned these doctors because they got a lot of play because of one of the doctors that was in it, and I don't remember her name, and I don't really care that I don't remember her name because she doesn't deserve it. She came out and she talked about how take hydroxychloroquine, but then things about like demon semen that created COVID, or I don't know, something about sex with demons. I don't remember. It's stupid. I'll be honest, it's stupid. Yeah, and she's on a probationary medical license because she's only been out of med school for a year or something like that. Something was fishy about her credentials, and then got that coming out there, and with the image of power, the stereotypes of doctors in lab coats, just the image itself, right? So this misinformation goes and then gets repeated over and over and over again, and it then just invades open minds. It invades open in the sense that like they're easily persuaded, and so this stuff gets repeated and parroted and repeated and parroted until it either becomes a casualty of the propaganda effect. A belief increases when you hear something over and over again, or embedded in our attitudes through what's called the sleeper effect. Like we're not even aware that we're getting the message repeated over and over and over again until we just like, oh yeah, I have that attitude. Yeah, I believe that. And like, where'd that come from? I don't know. I guess I hear it a lot. So that's the sleeper effect. They get parroted, and then then they get shared, and everyone has to talk about it, and yeah, and then it keeps spreading, and then it keeps doing the thing. It's like a really bad cycle. It's a really, really bad cycle, like so bad. And like I said, I hate it. So this is obviously the extreme, and again, my colleagues in the thread had some interesting things to say about related stuff. So this is more like the catch-all period that I just wanted to give them shout-outs because I thought they were great. Christopher Green up at York University in Canada had the idea that I thought that this was nice, right? So it's just clearly entangled with political identification. So he says, and I hope he does. I'll paraphrase because I don't have permission to say his words on stream. But anyways, he says that what we would expect from political psychology is that conservatives' morality center around purity and contamination and infection, which, are metaphors, but also literal in the sense of the coronavirus. but we actually see the opposite happening with conservatives, and that is that there is some sort of reverse going on, and he speculates that the way that there was potential controversy over pandemic precautions that played out here, there was some group polarization that might have occurred. There's some group polarization that might have occurred where, if you were around last month in the streams, where I said that any attitude that you have is made more extreme when going to a group that has the same attitude. So attitudes tend to be more extreme in group settings. And so when you had the mask issue come up, it got immediately gobbled up by this overwhelming group polarization. Okay? And this then said other moral things, other moral foundations to conservatism that have been replicated over the past decade. It doesn't line up. So maybe there's some dissonance there, but I think it's a really interesting idea because nothing has been traditionally conservative about the last 4 years in the conservative, so idealized Republican Party, but apparently the GOP has not been expressing those beliefs in the last 4 years because somehow our annoying yet rational economic policy beliefs, which still has social implications to it, of course, that at least had some academic merit behind it, but now we're just stuck with this tribalism. It's like everything is about identity now. And not to say that identity isn't important, but we've just broken up into tribes. And there's the racism underneath it, there's the sexism underneath it, and there is all of this ism underneath it all. And you have this reverse morality shift in the last 4 years. I think I had potential dreams to be a political psychologist. I think it's fascinating. I never actually went down that route, although I do have a paper coming out eventually. Anyways, I'm gonna end with some tips for wearing masks. Now, this whole discussion has been directed at people who are physically able to wear masks. Okay? This was not and should not be a vendetta or shaming of people who medically cannot wear masks for whatever reason, whether that's a psychological trauma or a physical trauma or a physical medical condition. So the last 80 minutes have not been directed at those people because they're not the ones who are having tirades in public about not wearing masks. So, or the probably countless people who make mistakes and forget to wear a mask and are told, hey, put your mask on, and they're like, oh shoot, I forgot, so sorry, and mask on. Right? This is clearly behavior that is against norms right now, because several places don't have mandates and whatnot. So this is still a norm. So I wanted to end with ways to educate people on mask wearing. So the National Academies of Sciences published a big old paper. You can download it for free. You just have to give them your email address, I believe. Excuse me. And this is encouraging adoption of protective behaviors to mitigate the spread, and so strategies for behavior change. So this is basically a blueprint on 21 pages on how to approach the subject, right? So these are ideas and strategies to help, whatever sort of locale. Like, say you run a company of 50 people, all from different backgrounds, all with different beliefs. And so the idea here is using this blueprint can help you as the, CEO of this 50-person company. Deliver the message about adopting the behavior, especially for people who are at work, right? So, yeah. So you can download that, make the behavior easy to start and repeat, make the behavior rewarding to repeat, tie the behavior to an existing habit, alert people to behaviors that conflict with existing habits and provide alternative behaviors, provide specific descriptions of desired behaviors. And then they 10 risk communication strategies for deployment. To be maximally persuasive. And that summary was provided by Dana Layton. Dana, at the University... Oh, sorry. Texas A&M University in Texarkana, which is near the border, I think, of Texas and Arkansas. I think that's how you pronounce the name of the city, Texarkana. The Art of Persuasion, not the Art of the Deal. And then Golden Duke mentioned the Duke study that came out, and you can read this again. I will link you. I'm sure it's been all over social media, but whatever. Doesn't hurt to have it in the record, because the record is right there. Anyways, so researchers at Duke compared a bunch of masks, and I'm just going to scroll down to the image. Download high-res image. All right, so okay, well, you can see the different kinds of masks there. The important ones to note are 11 and 12. 11 is a neck gaiter. I definitely know that. And then 12 is obviously a bandana. And then I think a few of these. So this, I think, is the N95 mask. This is a 3M painter's mask. And then we have different kinds of material in these, in like 10. And then I have no idea what number 13. Don't wear neck gaiters or bandanas. You want to prevent COVID. No fleece. Yeah, no fleece. Is that this one right here? Is that fleece? Can't really tell what this is versus what maybe this one's knitted. Knitted's a little bit better than the neck gaiter and the bandana. Just 11 is a neck gaiter, yeah. 11's neck gaiter, 12 bandana. I think 8 is knitted. Don't really wear knitted. Also, definitely don't wear like crocheted or big clumpy. No 11 is a neck gaiter. They're usually not. Are they made out of fleece? If they're made out of fleece, then maybe. But this is definitely neck gaiter. Yeah, so I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Alrighty, that's it for this one. Appreciate everybody coming by and all of the love and such from all you lovely people hanging around and asking questions. Next stream is on Sunday. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I might do a watch party. There's a really good movie that I saw on Prime, so I might do a watch party. 10 a.m. Central on Sunday. So I'll see everyone later. Have a good night. Wherever in the world you may be. You betcha, Golden Dude. Betcha.